Hello. What a throwback game that was. First time since 1944 that a game in the NHL has had 0 goals. Sorry, 1 goal, 0 penalties. 1944, it was a tie between Toronto and Chicago. That's insane. We just watched a game in 2024 that had something happen that hasn't happened since 1944. That's insane. Unbelievable. But more importantly, well, less as important, I don't know, similar importance. The Golden Knights were fantastic defensively. The goaltending was excellent when they had their breakdowns. The Edmonton Oilers missed a couple off net that were tight that the goalie didn't have. We don't know what would have happened, but in the end, it doesn't really matter how they got there. What matters is they got it to 1-0. They won a game 1-0. It's their ninth regular season, no, eighth regular season 1-0 win. Their 10th overall 1-0 win. It's the biggest part of it to me. It's not like this is not the plan of how you want to beat the Edmonton Oilers. You do not want to sit in your own end for basically the entire third period. You do not want to have a period where you only get 2 shots. That's not necessarily the Golden Knights' plan. That's not the identity that they want to play to. However, this season, basically all of this season, and a good portion of last season, to be completely honest, has been an inability to live in their own end and get out of it without inevitably giving up something, whether that's a penalty, that's a goal, that's multiple chances, that's whatever. In this particular game, the Golden Knights lived in their own end, but it looked consistent. It looked like they were never underwater. It looked like the only time where there was any sort of issue was when they were trying to hit a long stretch pass and immediately generate the chance coming out, as opposed to just getting it out, changing, and starting back over. Like they felt or looked very, very comfortable in their own end against an elite offensive team, especially when you consider the third period. No, Edmonton has not been scoring as much as they have overall. However, when you get it was like 9 minutes of McDavid and Draisaitl together. There was 3 minutes almost of the goalie out, and they're able to consistently find ways to clog the middle of the ice, get sticks in passing lanes, get bodies in shooting lanes, stay compact. I think that's the biggest thing. If you were to take any random screenshot from the third period, at all times, there are plenty of bodies, Golden Knights, gold shirts in between the puck and the goal. It was not just a great effort from Adin Hill. It was good. It is good enough. It is excellent in this particular game. That's the type of game you are going to get out of Adin Hill if you play great defense in front of them. They played an excellent defensive game. It is not an excellent overall hockey game because they scored one time. It was on a 2-on-1 that they didn't really do anything to generate, and the goal was not even scored on a shot. It was a pass that was trying to go across. Nonetheless, having the 1-goal lead, I do think changes how that game goes. Because when we get into that third period and you're seeing all this pressure coming at you, for me, the Golden Knights' plan against Edmonton should always be absorb some of the pressure, keep it to the outside, wait for them to make that extra pass, and then spring a chance the other way. Unfortunately, third period, we did not see a single chance get sprung the other way. That's okay, though, because this is the regular season. This is December 3rd. This is without one of the Golden Knights starting defensemen. This is without one of their better wingers. This is a roster that is not quite at full strength. And yet still, you're able to get what they were able to get defensively. Those 20 minutes, you could probably go further, 24, 28, something like that minutes from the moment where it really started to pick up of them having chances in the Golden Knights' end to where we got to at the end. That is where you start to say, look, this is what we want to build off of. This is how we have to be in our own end. It's not always going to be 16 shots, no goals, and you get out of here without anything allowed. It's not always going to be spending 15 minutes of the zone time in your own end, spending almost the entire 3 minutes of the goalie out in your own end. It's not going to be that without taking a penalty, without giving up a goal, without giving up even more opportunities than they did give up. However, what was nice to see is not one time, never during the entirety of the third period, and I would argue even in all of the second period, not once did the Golden Knights look confused in their own end. Not once did they look around and try to figure out where the coverage was. Not one time can I remember a single pass that cut through the seam of the defense. They tried plenty of them. Not once made it all the way through. That is how this team needs to play defense. That is the portion of the game that is going to take this particular team from being just an okay to solid playoff team to a team that can actually do something. That's going to be the difference. And to see it in a game of this magnitude, it's December 3rd. It's not that important in the standings. It's not that important in regards to the psyche of the two teams. But in regards to, like, when are you playing a bigger game in your own building, this is one of those, or at least one of the biggest ones you're going to get in the month of December. The intensity is a little bit higher. These two teams kind of hate each other. All right, we got something there. To be able to do it in that style of a game should lead for some confidence moving forward to say they can do this more often. Now, one of the big pieces that has to come into play that we have to look at beyond anything, and I think it's something that was planned before the game, and it's something that this opponent brings out the best in the Golden Knights in, is it's not just how they play when all 10 players are in the defensive zone. It's not just keeping the puck to the outside. It happens way before it, and I will tell you that after I tell you that this Periscope and all Periscopes are brought to you by the Jimmerson Law Firm. Jimmerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas' preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation. When winning matters, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. When winning in a way that has not been done since 1944, and actually they didn't even win that game. So we actually have to go even further back. When winning a way that hasn't happened in like 100 years happens, seek out the Jimmerson Law Firm. If you need to win a lawsuit in a way that hasn't happened in 100 years, I bet you the Jimmerson Law Firm can win that lawsuit. They probably will. That, I don't know that I can promise that, but I think they probably will. In my opinion, I think that they will. Here's the other thing. When the Golden Knights play against Connor McDavid, they have a very specific style of what they want to do when the puck is turned over. They want players in between the puck and the goal as far up the ice as physically possible. They use the term layers. I use the term layers because they use the term layers. What they're trying to do is when McDavid had the puck a couple of times behind his own goal, he revs it up, he gets going, he's got all this speed. The first guy probably is not going to stop him. However, the first guy can potentially push him to a certain way. The second group of players may not even stop him. However, it's the third group of players and maybe even a fourth group of players, if it happens long enough that we can circle one back around and you can get a fourth layer. That's how you stop the guy. That's how you force it to where he actually outskates his entire team. He puts himself into a position where there's nothing else to do, and that's how you end up stopping him. The puck is turned over, and often now they have guys flowing past him, and the Golden Knights are going the other way. There was a little bit of a sequence there in the middle of the second period where all of a sudden it was chance, back and forth. That's because the Golden Knights were defending in layers properly. They just overcommitted one way, the other time, and it ended up being two chances both ways. But it's that style that was better. That focus has to start coming against even teams that don't have Connor McDavid. That style of defending has to be there against all of the good teams. It's going to have to be there against Dallas on Friday. It's going to have to be there on the road against Winnipeg and then Minnesota and Edmonton again. Like, that's the style that is going to make this team much more consistent and not live in their own end. Not everybody has a McDavid. Not everybody has a Draisaitl that can hit a 80-yard pass on his backhand, saucing it over two sticks. Like, not everybody has that. So even though you have the layers against that, sometimes they will still get zone entries and you still have to then defend. Normally, those opportunities will be turnovers in the middle of the ice, and you can now transition the other way. You will get more offense from it. You will get more consistent zone time from it. You will start to be able to do what the Golden Knights do best, which is lean on teams. We didn't see a lot of that today. That's okay. That's okay. And I'll tell you right now, even if the Golden Knights had conceded late in that third period, even if they had then lost the game late in the third period or into overtime, it didn't matter. The result of this game, while it is now great and it is fantastic that they end up getting a win, and I do believe they're going to have Edmonton sitting here saying, what in the world are we supposed to do? how do you beat these guys? They had a 2-1 lead last time. Golden Knights scored 3 straight in a hurry. Hanifin got the game winner in that one. And then this one, they're just not any answers. They ran out of solutions to how to crack the code of what was the Golden Knights defense through the middle. That is excellent. However, the result to me is not nearly as important as the most important process of the Golden Knights season is finding ways to be much more consistent defensively. They just won a game where they scored 1 goal. If you would have told me in the last 2 games, they're going to get 1 goal combined against Edmonton and Utah, well, how many points are they going to get out of it? I'd say if they're lucky, 1, probably 0. They got 2. That is fantastic. That is exactly what you want to do because this team's probably not going to score forever. They are going to be an okay scoring team. I'm finally coming along and saying I think they're going to be all right, average to slightly below league average. I don't think they're going to be way towards the bottom like I feared for a little while. However, defense has to be the answer. Today, and the way that they were able to go about it, it was the answer today. That is fantastic that it goes that way. The other thing I want to point out is the Hertl, Wah, Kolesar line, I thought was solid today. They got a number of chances, probably at least 2 of the best chances the Golden Knights had was the backhand that Hertl got after the stick check from McNabb. And then the chance that Hertl had on the one-timer that he hit the post pretty much right after the goal. Like, those opportunities are positive. But it's more so, to me, this line was put in many different difficult situations. They were out there against McDavid. They were out there against Draisaitl. They were out there against McDavid and Draisaitl at different times. That line concerns me when the game goes up and down. They were able to avoid that in this type of a game. Now, we still have to see it against some of the different types of teams. Utah is a team that it didn't go all that well against. We'll see as we move forward. Anaheim was a team that they actually put it together against, and it went pretty well in that game. We'll see if that can go. I don't know that that remains the answer. I think it's fine for now. I thought this was a good example of, like, if we get a defensive zone draw and we know we're trying to protect a goal, I don't mind having all 3 of those. They're going to protect the middle. They're going to be in a good shape. They've got a good face-off guy. They've got a secondary face-off guy. They're both right-handed, which isn't ideal. But there are some options that offers you that, to me, I've been getting concerned about it. And this was a game I remember thinking, and I actually said it on Edmonton radio before the game, that matchup and how they find those matchups against McDavid, or if they can find those opportunities with Draisaitl getting out in transition, that can potentially be a problem. It wasn't. It really wasn't. There wasn't really a great chance in transition. And you think back to this entire game, maybe a couple 3-on-2s. They didn't have a single 2-on-1. The closest thing they had to a 2-on-1 was McDavid way late in the shift, caught up the ice. The puck just kind of fluttered up to him and he missed it. They didn't really have a great opportunity to do it. And yeah, this is a question. Was it Carlson's line that was tasked to shutting down the McDavid line? It was not. When the Golden Knights had the opportunity to choose, they went with Eichel, Barbashev, and Dorofeev against McDavid as often as they possibly could. And they were even giving them some of the defensive zone shifts. Cassidy said he matched up a little bit more in this particular game than he is used to. That's why you saw less of Schwint, Holtz, and Pearson, and I thought they did not have a particularly good game, which is fine. They're not getting a lot of time. So in this game, they did go a lot more with Eichel. I think that's a huge positive in that you can now say we could trust that group. And now if Mark Stone does come back, whether that's tomorrow, that's on Friday, that's next Thursday, whenever, doesn't really make a huge difference. It is nice to know that it can be Eichel without Stone or without Carlson or without Hertl or without whoever. It's just the group of him and Barbashev and whoever else, whether that's Olofsson, Dorofeev, Holtz, whoever. You can trust that they're going to be able to get the job done. And they definitely did get it done today. Both McDavid and Eichel were spectacular defensively in this game. Both of them. Like, Eichel had the game winner on his stick, and McDavid comes out of nowhere and takes it from him. That shit was insane. Either way, the overall sense that I think everybody needs to take from this game is not we dominated the Edmonton Oilers. That didn't happen. This is not a winning formula. Like, you can't play this way in a playoff series and beat them. You're going to have to generate more offense than the Golden Knights generated in this particular game. I think they came out of the game with just over 1 expected goal. They actually did get that one goal. They allowed like 3 and change. The 3 and change I'm not as worried about because of the fact that it was kind of a collection of them. It wasn't actually a bunch of really dangerous chances as it went on. It was more of a collection of like less dangerous chances that then when you get 11 of them, it adds up to a goal and a half or whatever that are really not that crazy dangerous. If you roll the dice, whatever, 30 times, you may never get 12. Well, that's fine. Like the odds say you probably should get 12 a couple of times. You probably won't get 12 if you roll it enough times. Like that's kind of how I view some of those chances. Now, when you give up these really dangerous chances in front of the goal, yeah, you are going to give up some of them. I didn't think they gave up that many. So that was certainly a huge positive. Looking forward, Anaheim tomorrow. I don't think Stone's going to play, but I wouldn't be stunned if he plays. I think they're more likely to say, just don't even travel with us. Stay at home, get one more full skate in, and then come and play on Friday. And then we'll see. Let's see how he gets through the skate with contact today, which there's really very limited contact in a morning skate anyway. I would not rush him back. They do not need points. They are not in dire need of a win. They're not in dire need of his energy back in the lineup or anything of that sort. So you don't really want to or need to force him back into the lineup. So that's a positive that you don't have to rush him in for a game in Anaheim. I don't think you even need him to get on the flight tonight, get in at whatever 1 a.m, and then have to play the game tomorrow. Like this seems unnecessary to me. Get him another skate here. Get him a skate on Thursday if he wants it. Team is probably not going to skate on Thursday and then have the full morning skate on Friday. Seems a little bit more likely. The rest of the group, like we got to give Olofsson some time. Like it's only been a couple of games since he's been back in there, but he's been very unimpactful to this point, and I think it did kind of wear on Karlsson and Howden a little bit in this game. We saw very little of them doing much offensively in this game, maybe a little bit of holding the puck in the offensive zone. He's going to have to get going, and maybe Stone coming back does allow some shifting. Maybe you can put Stone back up on that first line and then allow Dorofeev to come down. Olofsson plays somewhere else. I think there are some options, but I would like to see them get going again because I don't know that you're going to get elite offensive line driving from Karlsson consistently. I think Olofsson's going to have to do some of that job, just like I thought Pavel did some of that job when he was on the line. So we go from there. How sustainable is trotting McDavid out for 20 minutes? I mean, he'll be fine. Like, I don't really care about Edmonton's minutes, to be completely honest. They went to the Stanley Cup final and went to Game 7 last year. The last team that did that, well, they didn't go to Game 7, but the last team that went to the Stanley Cup final and lost ended up winning the next year. I think that's a very good team. I think they're going to be a very difficult out if the Golden Knights do happen to get them in the playoffs. I would like to avoid Edmonton, despite the fact that they've played both of them, played both of those games well. I don't worry too much about that. Why 2 back-to-back in the same week? Poor scheduling. Yeah, I mean, it's welcome to the way the NHL works. Like they have so many different constraints that they have to deal with, whether it's travel, buildings, whatever, certain amount of days off that all these teams need and all these games that work out. Like there's basketball teams that play in different buildings. There's basketball that plays here. There's NFR and all this other shit. I don't even know what's here. You're going to get quirky situations. You just got to play through them. Like you had a good opportunity, had a couple of days off, big home game. You can get up for this home game. You got it. Now go play the shitty team on the road and play a halfway decent game. They don't even have to play a good game tomorrow. They play halfway decent and they will beat this team. So like then you get a day off. Then you've got another game against Dallas, but then you've got a good 5 days off before you have to do a very difficult road trip. Like I think the constant is we're always focused on the negatives that the schedule offers. I think sometimes you can look at the positives. It's nice to have the first of this back-to-back be the home game against Edmonton. Imagine if this were flipped. It would be way worse if tonight's game was in Anaheim, then they were coming back and they had to play Edmonton, who was sitting here waiting for them. Don't want that. This is a better situation. Does it suck that they have to play 3 and 4? Yeah. But after the 3 and 4, there's 5 days off. And this team can use 5 days off. They can use a couple practices. They can use some rest days. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I understand that it's like this schedule looks like it sucks. But if we always focus on the negative of it, it's much easier to say, look at some of the positives that come with this. You're back-to-back, and many of the back-to-backs this year have involved shitty teams in one of the 2 games. That is helpful. You look at the one up on the road, Montreal right after Toronto or whatever it was, Ottawa, whatever. There was a shit team on both ends of it. Like, this is nice to get some of that. It's a huge difference if they were going to Dallas tomorrow, or even if Dallas was coming in here, Winnipeg, Minnesota, whatever, Colorado, something like that. There are some difficult situations. Deal with them, figure it out. Four Nations is going to cost some of it. Any chance Stone declines a Four Nations invite? No. I just flat out don't think he will. I think if Stone gets the call, he's going to say, I'm going to play. I think that's that simple. And I think he is going to be on the roster. I've seen a lot of the projections from people who I believe know. The players have been pretty coy with us. I don't really understand why everyone has to be coy. I don't get it. You can hint that you're probably going to be on the team, whatever. I think most of the Golden Knights are going to be on the team. The one I don't know about is Hanifin. It does appear Stone, Theodore, Pietrangelo, Hill, Carlson are all on teams. Obviously, Eichel is also on the team. I don't think it's the worst thing in the world if Hanifin's not on the roster. It's going to look bad in the moment because it's he hasn't been playing all that well, and then he gets left off the roster, and it's going to be kind of disappointing. But to me, that's going to then happen. He's going to come back. He's going to play with his pants on fire, and he's going to be awesome. I don't think it's the worst thing. I also don't love the idea that basically the entirety of the top six and the entirety of the top four and the starting goalie are all playing 4 games when everybody else should be resting for 2 weeks. It's not a great situation. I'm going to enjoy the hell out of the games, and I'm going to be very American for these games, so gear up for that. Fuck everybody that's not American at that point in regards to who wins these games. I want the Americans to win, so we're all in on Eichel. We're all in on the Kachucks. We're all in on the Hughes brothers. That's where I'm at for this, just because I think it would be fantastic. Anytime America beats Canada in hockey, it's spectacular. Happens every single year in the Stanley Cup final, which is fantastic. We are from the USA here. The flag is right there. So I would love them to win that. So for the guys that are playing, I would love for them to dominate all of the Canadian players. And I think we will. I think we have better goaltending. I think we have a better, more well-rounded defense. I think the Canadian defense is very, very offensive minded, and I think they're going to pay for it. So we will see, but those are going to be real interesting. But like I said, when the rosters come out tomorrow, and if Hanifin's not on there, it's not that big a deal. It's probably a good thing. In the long term for the Golden Knights, it's probably a good thing. Yes, it's going to look nice if they have 7 players on the roster. That will be cool. But we would be way nicer if they all didn't have to play and they all could just take the 2 weeks, come back, and the Golden Knights go steamrolling through the month of March. That would be better. Do the Vegas Golden Knights GMs have any say in go or no go? Not really. They can tell him probably we would rather you don't go, but I think in the end, it's probably going to be up to him. The fact that the Golden Knights coach is the coach of Canada or one of the coaches of Canada leads me to even more believe that probably not going to say don't go. I think these guys are going to want to go. You think back to the last time that we played best on best hockey in an international setting was 2016. It was before the Golden Knights were a franchise. Since the Golden Knights have been a franchise, they have not played a single game in best on best hockey. We've seen a little bit of the IIHF tournament. Stone and Marchessault played together a little bit in that. And we've seen a little bit of that over time. But in this particular case, this is an opportunity for guys like Eichel, who really hasn't had much of an opportunity to play for the U.S. This is his chance. He's not going to pass up that opportunity. Hill, not going to pass up the opportunity. Theodore, Pietrangelo. I think Pietrangelo may have played way back. Some of the guys have played in World Juniors. That's cool and all. It's not the same. It's just not the same lining up next to Crosby and McDavid and McKinnon and McCarr and saying this is the best Canada has to offer. It's going to be pretty cool. I think those games are going to be awesome. As much as it sucks for the Golden Knights, and I do think it is going to suck for the Golden Knights, and I am kind of looking at that out of the break thing as this may not go so well because they're not going to be as well rested as maybe a lot of these other teams are. But the hockey's going to be so awesome, and it's going to be so cool to see these different things and see these different players play on different lines and learn a little bit about what does it look like when Mark Stone plays next to Nathan McKinnon or Sidney Crosby or whoever. It's going to be really cool. Eichel with the Kachuk sounds like fun. Eichel with the Hughes brother sounds like there's so many different cool options that we can potentially see. So just enjoy it. try to not be too upset about what it's going to look like for the Golden Knights. In the end, it should be fine. It's 4 more games, 3 for some of them. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like they're going to be practicing super hard before these games. Hopefully, there's no injuries. I hope we get through that, whatever, but we shall see. Stone with Carlson and Howden. Yeah, I like that. I think that's an interesting option. I think Barbashev, that kind of leaves a spot for Olofsson where we don't really have an answer for him, because then it kind of ends up being Schwint, Pearson, and Olofsson, or Holtz comes out, and then I'm interested in seeing how that's going to go. I know a lot of people have asked me who's the guy that comes out. I think it would be Holtz, but I also think there's a possibility that it is Schwint. If it is Schwint, then either Hurdle needs to move back into the middle, which allows Waugh to go back to center, or Howden's going to have to go to the middle. The way Howden's been scoring, I don't love that option. I think he's better off right now on the wing on a scoring line. As long as the scoring is going to be there. I don't know how long that's going to be there, so I think you take advantage of that while we have that going. So that's kind of where I'm at on that one. I like the idea of a Howden Carlson Stone line. I think it's awesome defensively. I think you can deploy it in a lot of different ways. I don't know how he's going to go at it. It wouldn't shock me if he just chucks him back on the top line and just hopes that it picks right back up where it left off. We'll see. By the way, Jack Eichel doesn't have a point in 2 games. What the hell? Everyone starts yapping about Hart and the guy sucks now. I'm joking. But it is kind of weird that he doesn't have a point in 2 games. He tried to get one. Should have maybe had one, and it ends up being a unassisted goal. Who, if anyone, has earned the 6th spot on defense? I have not been enamored by the way that Korzak's been playing as of recently. I don't think he's been terrible, but I don't think he's kind of locked that job down like I thought he might when given the opportunity. He's now had the opportunity for a fairly extended period of time. I thought it was real clear that Nick Hague bailed him out a number of times in this game. I thought Nick Hague was excellent today. Shout out Nick Hague. He was so good in this game. There was one shift where he just dominated Connor McDavid. It was awesome to see. Used his body to shield him off one time, poke checked him from behind, shielded him off on the boards, and then funneled the puck out. Like, it was an awesome shift. I think Hague has kind of put himself in a pretty clear spot that he's in the lineup no matter what. Hutton, Whitecloud, Korzak, I would like to see all of them get opportunities as we move forward and see if somebody is going to grab that spot and run with it. I don't think Whitecloud had before. We'll see. That's all I've got for tonight. Thanks again to the Jimmerson Law Firm for sponsoring all Periscopes. We will be back at it, I don't know, maybe Friday, because there's not a game until the Thursday. I don't know. Probably not tomorrow. Maybe we'll do Friday. If Friday's game is interesting, we'll do Friday. If not, we'll talk to you next week, because we got 3 home games coming up next week. That's it. See ya.